Shalom, first and foremost, I want to say, Kalayim Lo Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua, Bashim Harakak Wadash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles, the great millstone. GMS will do rule and teach well. This is NewYorkCityUrbanism.com. This doesn't really seem to be a history site. However, the article's history is on point. You know, it's pretty basic stuff. So a short history of slavery in New York City, right? Because, Esau, Edom, here in America, they always like to make it seem like slavery was just a southern thing, but slavery was something that took place across the country as a whole. Jake was dragged away here as slaves, not just only in the South, But that's just stuff that they like to push to try to make themselves feel better. Oh no, my family didn't own slaves. You were here in New York. It's like, nah, dude, your family definitely owned slaves. Some meat of my families, didn't. Like, some couldn't afford it, but you know what I mean. You know what I'm trying to say. They always try to push the blame off away and say, oh no, I was only in the South, right? But that's Esau being Esau, right? His soul is not upright in him, right? We're going to be thinking about Habakkuk, the second chapter, a lot throughout this. So New York City has been long known for its diversity and progressive values. City immigrants, birthplace of the Harlem Renaissance. We know what the Harlem Renaissance is. We'll see it as a barbaric past from the slave market of Wall Street to the draft rights in 1863, where innocent black New Yorkers were attacked, ending in a death toll of over 100. The sale and keeping of slaves in New York was common since its founding, and it wasn't until 1841 when the New York finally abolished the practice, right? So let's give this. All right, so here we go. New York City draft rights, sometimes refers to as the Manhattan draft riots, not at the same time, known at the time as Draft Week, or violent disturbances in Lower Manhattan, right? While regarded as a culmination of working class discontent passed by Congress that year to draft men to fight in the ongoing American Civil War. The riots remained the largest and silver and most racially charged urban disturbance in American history. Oh, look at that. According to Toby Joyce, the riot represented the civil war within the city's Irish community, and that mostly Irish American rioters confronted police, soldiers, and post-war pro-war politicians, were also to a considerable extent from the local Irish immigrant community. Right, so they didn't want to join up in the Civil War. Right. But then, initially intended to express anger at the draft, the protest turned to a riot against African Americans by Irish writers, Now, right, we say the Irish, or Jakes, but not all of them are, You had Jake all up and down in there, but not everyone in Ireland is Israelite, they got taken down, right? Then the fact that free blacks were paid more than them and did not need to fear being drafted, whereas the Irish could only avoid the draft by paying $300, which $300 was a lot of money. Sierra labor's wage was $1 to $2, So I was like, what the fuck? That's like 300 days. That's like a year's pay to avoid the draft. The official death toll was listed at either 119 or 120 individuals. Yeah, so you see, that's what happened. That's what happened here in America. And you see here, the military did not reach the city until the second day of rioting, by which time the mobs ransacked or destroyed numerous public buildings, 2 Protestant churches, the homes of various abolitionists or sympathizers, many black homes, and the colored orphan asylum at 44th Street and 5th Avenue, which was burned to the ground. Damn, dude. The area's demographic changed as a result of the riot. Many black residents left Manhattan permanently, with many moving to Brooklyn. By 1865, the black population had fallen below 11,000 for the first time since 1820. Damn, dude. Yeah. So I don't know if those guys are Jakes. Those guys are some damn devils, some tears. And as soon as they got a chance to fuck up Jake, they they took it. I'm certain they weren't all Irish. Probably some a little bit of everyone. Different Edomites in different places. Oh yeah, fuck it, let's all join in. Here in New York City, and even to go into Israelite foreigners, you guys aren't off the hook either, because all the Israelite foreigners, you Italians, you Irish. Not saying everyone in Italy and Ireland are Jakes. Absolutely not. Right, but a lot of you guys are made to be the foot soldiers, of police, and you do these, race attacks against Jake. So just because you're from Ireland or Italy doesn't mean so it's just because you say that doesn't mean I'm immediately gonna accept you with open arms. I gotta read your spirit, dude, because you could be an Edomite, dude. So I want to get the curses. I'm gonna get another one. I don't want to get the same. We all know about Deuteronomy 28. We know about that one, right? Yeah, it's the book of Isaiah chapter. Consumed. This stuff is talking about the the kingdom and everything, and the nation as a whole being remade. But that stuff, the whole kingdom starts with us right now. So yeah, for ye shall be as an oak whose leaf fadeth, and as a garden that hath no water. Yeah, con. Man, I can actually add that in to wisdom allegories. We know that water represents water represents wisdom and all that as well, and we know that a garden also represents the people. People also liken unto plants, and oak and trees, that from Genesis, the second chapter in Ezekiel, I want to say 31. It talks about the bows of Adam. That bows were long and brilliant, or something like that. The nations were jealous of thee, stuff like that. So that's what it is. The oak whose leaf faileth, and there's a garden that hath no water. And the strong shall be his toe, and to make of it as a spark, and they shall both burn together, and then shall quench them. Yeah, and that's what's gonna happen to you people. I believe toe is a tree, so flax. So the strong. So people of those of us in our people that have power, shall be his toe. Should be like wood, and make of it, right? A spark as a spark, and they shall both burn together, and then shall question. I'm gonna see that. Yeah, here you go. This is what I meant to say. The strongest among you will disappear like straws. Their deeds will be the spark that sets it on fire. They and their evil works will burn up together, and no one will be able to put out the fire. Absolutely. Which that fire, will come. Well, it's speaking spiritually, allegorical, but we know that literal fire is going to come down, you people. So that's what's going to happen. But it's your work, the things that you've done on earth, because that the earth is the place of judgment, like King Solomon explained. The place of judgment is here under the sun. The things that you've done in this life and in the past lives, you're gonna experience the punishment thereof on the earth. Which will be your nuclear destruction, right? But you can also say the fire, which is judgment, is also just us being brought down to bondage. That's really in context, because Isaiah was speaking before the captivity of Israel by Assyria, and he was also speaking of Judah before its captivity as well. Because if you read later on in Isaiah, it talks about that. It talks about the whole thing with Sennacherib and all that, which came a little bit later. Right, so this is another one. Uh, um, hmm. I guess we can go to the point. This is all talking about, I believe Jeremiah is like before the captivity by Babylon. Yeah, so that's what it's talking about in context. But I haven't gotten to a whole lot of scriptures in Jeremiah as of yet. I just know the basic gist. You know, I've been making it my business to go throughout a lot of these prophetic chapters. Well, at least I was for a hot minute. As of late, I've been focusing on. I read the Book of Mark because I never read the Book of Mark before, which I guess you. Yeah, I guess you could. You should read it. You should read every book. But I mean, Mark is not really that much different from Matthew. Luke is the one that's like special. Like Luke, the first chapter. That one is special. There's some extra stuff in like Luke. I think a couple of extra things that I think is like only in Luke. And then, I think that's, if I'm correct, is that it for the, no. I think you have the Johns, which then there's other stuff in those books as well. Those books, and then I think that's pretty much that for the Gospels. I've been making sure to run through all those. So Jeremiah 5:19, 5:18. Ever else in those days said, Lord, I will not make a full end with you. Right? And it shall come to pass, we shall say, wherefore doeth the Lord our God do? Wherefore doeth the Lord our God all these things unto us? Then shalt thou answer them, like as ye have forsaken men, serve strange gods in your land, so shall ye serve strangers in a land that's not yours. Exactly. That's what we have. That's what happened to us. We were serving strangers. Let's look at strangers. So zawar, another word for stranger. I just know another word for strangers is nakar. See, strange nakar. Right? Foreigner. Foreign gods, false gods. Typically, I think maybe there's one scripture where nakar is used for an Israelite foreigner, but typically for Israel, I believe it's usually like gar or something, and goyim is kind of a toss up. Which Amalek turned goyim into like an insult. Like you're trash. It's the way they treat it, but it just means you're nations. It has nothing to do. It's not an insult. It's not really an insult, but words can have vibrations on them when you say them. Nations is really just a description. Like you call someone like a lesbian or something, that's just a description. It's not, people get offended if you call them that. If you say, oh, you lesbo, you lesbian, and they get mad, but it's like, well, you are like that, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much. So yeah, so our people were getting fucked up out here, and this is right here in New York. And as you went into it, was be right there in Lower Manhattan, which it's still there. Okay, right. New Yorkers were black. Where innocent black New Yorkers were attacked, and the death toll of over 100. Right, it's attacking our people, murdering them. The sale and keeping of slaves in New York was common since its founding, and it wasn't until 1841 that New York State finally abolished the practice. In 1991, when Federal Plaza was being constructed in Lower Manhattan, excavation found intact human skeletal remains located 30 feet below Broadway, a 6-acre burial ground containing upwards of 15,000 intact skeletal remains of enslaved and free Africans who lived and worked in colonial New York. Now a public monument, the African burial ground is a reminder of the city's history that's often neglected. Absolutely, and you can actually visit that same area you know, to this day. I believe the elders, I made a video about it. And then, brothers as a whole will make videos about it. GMS brothers and affiliated guys will all, occasionally like make videos on it. You can find it, on locations, So slavery was introduced in New York City when the Dutch settled the colony, bringing with them 11 African men in 1626 and 3 women in 1628. When the English captured the city in 1664, 9% of the 8,000 settlers were Africans, slaves and freed, and ownership was transferred to the British, who institutionalized slavery, classifying them as chattel that worked involuntarily, right? In British New York City, and also the Dutch allowed them to marry. The British didn't. They allowed them to marry. I think they said that here. But unlike the Dutch, in British New York City, killing a slave was legal. In British New York City, killing a slave was illegal. But unlike the Dutch, who had allowed slaves to marry in church, on the British, they could not be married and the families were split up. It's interesting because, actually, no, never mind. Because even when I was watching this other documentary, you could still watch it. It was called something King. Was it African King or African Prince or some shit? So there was a documentary. It was kind of like a documentary movie type deal. But it was about this Jake from Fouta Djallon. Fouta Djallon, I think that's Ghana or Nigeria or something. But this dude was a Jake, and he was an actual out and out Nigerian prince, and he was basically what he did was that he, they called him a Moor and whatever, right? But what he did was, he spoke Arabic and things like that. But what he did was that he acted like he was from Morocco, because Morocco and the United States, that was the first peace treaty that they had. That's why I said the British. I'm not gonna talk about the British because this is the post revolution and stuff, right? That was America's first peace ally was Morocco, and what the Jake did was that he acted like he was Moroccan and stuff, and it drummed up a whole lot of controversy, and he used that to raise money to get his wife out of slavery and stuff. And I can't remember how the story goes on how he gets freed. I think he met a white guy that he knew, an Edomite guy that he knew already, and he was able to get out or something like that. But his whole thing was getting money to get his wife and his children out of slavery, which he wasn't able to get the children, but he was able to get his wife that he had made while he was over there. He really shouldn't even been captured to begin with and taken into slavery, but he was captured by tribal enemies, and they sold him to Edomites, and so on and so forth. Which this type of stuff that happened to us. When they took Jake from west coast of Africa, they took everyone. Whoever happened to be captured in war or whatever, they took over there. You had our version of special forces, our version, our soldiers, our generals, our commanders taken over here to America. And it's gee, no wonder there was always slave uprisings and fights, and some Jakes ran off into the swamps and became the Maroons and all that, and whenever. But that goes all the way back to Judah being a warrior tribe as well. So it's deep, man. It's deep, and then they joined up with Seminoles and all that, and boom, right, and became the war wing. So slavery continued to be an important source of the city's labor force until the early 18th century, right? So, so-called blacks, and Native Americans, we are the foundation of New York City. The foundation of this place. Without us, being forced to work, being a forced labor force, we would, it would be no New York City. All these, Times Square. When you look at Times Square, now you got to think about that. This is your people's blood. And that's not just Times Square. L.A. What other place Jake likes? Washington D.C. obviously, right? Like no shit. What other ones? Las Vegas. All that was founded off of us. Esau wouldn't be able to have all that stuff if it wasn't for putting our people into hardcore slavery and torturing them. So making New York the largest slave-owning colony in the North. All right, so you see, I always try to tell you otherwise, right? In 1711, a slave market was established at the foot of Wall Street. The market was located at the present-day intersection of Wall and Water Streets. Then at the water's edge, was intended for the hiring and buying of slaves. It became known as the Mill Market, the official public market for goods, including corn and grain, with slaves continued to be bought and sold. Right? By this time, 20% of the population was enslaved blacks. On April 6, 1712, 9 white New Yorkers were killed in what became the city's first slave uprising. Right? See what I said before? You brought soldiers. They just brought people here randomly. So you brought people here that already knew how to fight. And that's the way Judah is. So Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. The Lord is going to rise that spirit back up in Judah. And you're going to come back in this kind of spirit, this uprising spirit, which is really, when these race wars happen, it's really a slave uprising because, we're still slaves. You have a social security number. You're really, you're like a piece of cattle to the elite banking families. They own you. We use their money and everything, and you're owned by the government. Government literally means governmental was basically like control of mind. Like mental means your mind. That's how I believe that's how it all went. So on April 6, 1712, 23 enslaved blacks armed with guns and knives set fire to a building on Maiden Lane. When the fire soon spread, the slaves attacked the white colonists who rushed to put the fire out, killing 9 of them. British soldiers dispatched militia units, soon captured 23 slaves. 6 off the capture committed suicide, but the rest were executed. Most burned alive, right? Which is the type of stuff they would do to our people. Laws were quickly established following the revolt, make it legal for slaves to meet, and allowing slave owners to punish their slaves as they saw fit. But not even 40 years later, there will be another slave uprising in New York City. Right? So here we can also just keep reading and just read the whole thing out. Let's see here. What is this number? Negroes reported from 1701 to 1742, and then you get the 1726. You get the years, and then you get, the number from the West Indies. Yeah, from the coast of Africa, from the West Indies, because, they would move us around to different places and whatever, and, grab us and so on and so forth. Right. Between 1700, well, this is all the stuff that they had anyway, the West Indies and whatever. Actually, hold on. Yeah. Here you go. These are all places where, they moved us over. They took us from Africa and then brought us over there. And then brought us to the West Indies. And then from the West Indies, brought us over there to New York. Yeah. History. They have many cultures, but this is not from 6 millennia BCE. That's not it. They came in way later. Those Jakes, those original inhabitants of these lands, those were all Northern Kingdom. And here you go. Mosquito. There you go, mosquito. There you go. Very important history to get into all this. So let's just keep reading here. Between 1700 and 1774, the city legally admitted around 6,800 slaves, with prominent New York City families such as the Scolliers, Livingstons, Van Cortlands, Beekmans, and Waltons profiting from the trade. Right, as you see. I don't know, Scollier sounds like a fucking Jew name, so I don't know. In 1741, a slave uprising burned down homes, businesses, the seat of the royal government, the walls of the governor's residence at Fort George, the Battery. Is that where Battery Park is nowadays? I don't know. The uprising lasted 6 months, resulted in the execution of 30 black men, deportation of 72. I guess they moved them back to the West Indies or something. After the decades of the 1740s, when New York would have had the second largest slave population in the 50 colonies, Manhattan's slave population would peak at 21% before starting a slow decline leading up to the Revolution. The slave market on Wall Street wasn't dismantled until 1762. After the war, more prominent white New Yorkers began to push for gradual emancipation. In 1799, children of slaves were free. In 1809, marriage between slaves was legalized with separations of families prohibited. In 1827, which doesn't make it better. Esau's still not going to be forgiven. He's still going to go to slavery. You know, that's point blank, period. Just because, I let you free. I'll let you free. Like, let's say, like, if I'm committing murder, right? Like, I'm just fucking murdering someone right now, right? Okay, let's not go there. Let's say someone else is murdering someone, right? And then while he's killing the guy, he decides, okay, I'm going to stop fucking stabbing you to death. I'm going to go walk away now. Does that make it any better? Like, no, you already started, you did the fucking atrocity, you know? Like, you go around, like, fucking, you know, murdering people, you know, then, and you say, oh, when you're in the middle of murder, then you just kind of stop. Then that's like, it doesn't make it better, you know? Like, you murdered our people, you raped our woman, you know, you fucked our people's heads all up, and we're supposed to just go back to normal? No, dude. Right? And that's part of the curse, is our people were fooled because nothing was going on for years, for decades. After we let go, the Lord didn't come back and save us immediately as soon as slavery was over. Right? We didn't even know who we are. You know, it was all a gradual thing. You know, our people were lost. Like, oh man, we want to get these devils back, but we can't. We're just stuck. So, all right, I guess we got to work with them. I guess we'll go into politics, and then the politics don't work. We go to college and you get a law degree, you know, oh man, I'm gonna become a fucking scientist, bro, and I'm gonna help all the black people on the inside. And I'm like, nigga, that shit don't work. Whenever people go on the inside, they get the money, they find out that they can't help no one, and then they, you know, fuck off, and then it just becomes a waste of time. You know, what you need, all right, is that you need to get into these scriptures and then wait for this devil to be taken down in his entirety. That's reparations. That's what I want. I want to see this devil go down. All right, so in 1827, New York State Governor Tompkins abolished slavery, but complete abolition was not achieved until 1841, when the state revoked the law that made non-residents able to hold slaves for up to 9 months. The city still had ties to southern slaveholding states until the Civil War, and blacks were kidnapped in the street and transported to the South for sale. Right? The city profited enormously. See, that's fucking wicked right there, man. The city profited enormously from slavery, so much that in leading up to the Civil War, Mayor Fernando Wood originally proposed succession rather than lose profits from the cotton trade with the South. See these devils, man. So that suffice to say, you know, New York has a long history of the slave trade. You know, don't let these damn devils try to like lie to you and tell you that, oh, the North was, no slavery in the North. Oh, no, my family's from New York City. There was no slavery over here, dude. We were all good. It's like, no, nigga, New York City profited off of the slave trade. Like, you wouldn't have all these, you know, your Times Square, your Battery Park, your fucking, you know, downtown Brooklyn, and think of other spots. I think I said Times Square already. You know, all this shit that you got down here in New York City, you know, across Brooklyn, across Manhattan. What they call it, the Village, that spot over there. You wouldn't have all that stuff, all that cool shit, you know, without our blood, sweat, and tears in this land, you know. All right, so this is gonna be the last one. I just wanted to get to like a history video today. You know, kind of history kind of speaks for itself, to be honest. Wisdom. See here, wisdom. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. So this is the wisdom of Solomon 5:1. Then shall the righteous man stand great boldness in face of such as afflicted him, and made no account of his labors, right? And the face such that afflicted him is Esau, Edom, and he made no account of our labors. Made no account of our labors, right? He doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't give a shit. When you make an account of something, right? You take hold of it. You like keep it and make it in your mind, and like this is important, right? Like you know, when I go do laundry and whatever, right? Like okay, I make a count of how many quarters, how much change I have in my pocket, right? And then you go to the laundromat, you do your laundry, right? Or if you have the card, you make an account. Okay, I have $12 on my laundry card. Let me go ahead and do that, right? But Esau makes no account of our labors. They'll do little shit. Do we even have an anti-crime bill for just for black people? I know they do like minority stuff, but I don't think there's one for just black people. Anyway, but they always do this stuff. They always, whenever stuff comes to Jake, they always have to mix in other nations in there as well, and it becomes all muddled, and at the end of the day, nothing's really done, And then, at the same time, the Edomites want to keep for the next newest thing, right? They were keeping for the Ukrainians, and now that's kind of faded out and whatever. Now they're keeping for Palestinians in time. That stuff will fade out as well, and then they'll keep for the next thing, and that's the way Esau Edom works. Does whatever it takes to try and look good. All right, so this is Wisdom Solomon 5:1. Since salvation my sacred both fists, each says afflicted him, made no account of his labors. All right, so they make no account of our labors on a spiritual level. Us going out there teaching, but they make no account of our labors on the physical level, like the inventions our people made, all the patents that people came up with, and all this stuff, our slavery, our work, how we're foundational to this country, and how like us being put in slavery, gave the city the profit it needed to fucking get its start, and all that. So, hello and edify. Shalom. On to the next one.